Welcome to Happily Holistic. I'm Amy Lee Mccree, and I'm a medical intuitive with 20 years of experience. I've written 15 books on health and wellness. If you've had a medical intuitive session with me, you know that the thoughts and emotions within you, what has been passed down from your ancestors, and everything that surrounds you can impact your well-being. In this podcast, we touch on my favorite ways for you to improve your health and feel more joy. We dive deeply into everything health and wellness with a big dash of spirituality and a sprinkle of business. We spotlight the uplifting and the positive and share the secret ways top wellness authors and celebrities get inspired, stay healthy, and enjoy this beautiful life. I can't wait to get happily holistic with you today. Hello, and welcome to Happily Holistic. I'm so excited you are here with us today, and I am so excited that we have Danielle Paige on the program. Yay! Hello, Danielle.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here.
I'm so excited you're here. Our good friend George Elizos introduced us.
Yes.
Here we are. Danielle is an international soul astrologer, an intuitive, a spiritual teacher, the host of Cosmic Body podcast, and founder of Purposely Divine, School for Your Soul and Astrology Mystery School. She's a self-taught astrologer, and she's devoted herself to learning different types of healing to create her own style of spiritual medicine. She fuses astrology, energetic healing, intuition, and helps her clients heal their old wounds, old patterns, and come back to their heart. She's given talks at lots of places all over New York and LA. She brings women together and leads retreats in Hawaii, Costa Rica, and the Greek islands, and she's been in Vogue Netherlands. She's been on Goop, Astrology.com, the London Standard, the Numinous with our friend Ruby, Thought Catalog, J-Date, CBS Radio, and much more. You can find Danielle and follow her energy updates on Instagram at I am Danielle Paige, or her website, DaniellePaige.com. You have so much going on.
I do. Don't we all have a lot going on?
We all do.
That's why we came back to Earth, to get stuff done.
Exactly. And that's why we're in this field, right?
Mm-hmm.
We like to dabble in all kinds of different things.
Into everything. It's all connected, raising the vibration, shifting consciousness, waking up humanity. We're busy people.
Stuff. Yes, all that good stuff. We love it. So Danielle has a lot of really amazing things to offer, and I'm gonna ask her a couple questions to kind of get us oriented, and then we're gonna ask her a little bit about her perspective from her unique kind of soul astrologer standpoint on 2020, which has been interesting, shall we say? Would be a nice way of putting it. So Danielle, why don't you start by telling us a little bit more about kind of not just what you do, but your perspective on life and how that has shaped what you do.
Ooh, good question. My perspective on life. Well, what I try to do is wake people up to the truth of what's going on, because I believe we live in this matrix that's, very controlled. And so and it's no one's fault. It's just that we're brought up believing certain things based on society, what society tells us. So my biggest goal is to have people start thinking for themselves and use their intuition rather than just going with the flow, like a robot,
right? And
start thinking for themselves of what do they really want? Why am I doing that? Why have we been told to do that over and over again? Maybe there's a better way. So I really shake people up out of their stuck rut and push them on their journey.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Hopefully gracefully, huh? We all try to be graceful on this journey.
Oh, yeah.
But it sometimes gets messy.
it does get messy, and that's okay. That's where we learn everything. So, my journey to get here was not clean at all. It was so up and down, so confusing. There was a lot going on. I had no idea I would be doing this work before I turned 30. And I'm here and I love it. So sometimes we have to go through that messy, and it has to get confusing, and it has to, be on the ground crying, asking the universe what's going on, to really fulfill our purpose.
Where did you start out prior to this work? What were you up to in your 20s?
So in my 20s, I was in grad school for interior design and architecture. So I ended up getting my master's degree in interior architecture, which is definitely not just about colors and pillows and couches. I was basically working with the electrical, working with engineers, working with contractors, and renovating inside buildings. So it was pretty intense, but I realized that I've always been interested in design, but this wasn't my calling. I just knew that. And again, this was many years ago, and I had no idea what to do. But I would leave work and I would come home crying, and I just knew, I said, I didn't come to Earth to just like sit on. So there's a program called AutoCAD that we use. It's where you do the blueprints. And I was just sitting on AutoCAD, filling in lines, clicking things, and zooming in like to urinals in the hospital bathroom that I would have to align. And I'm like, I understand this is an important job because we all need urinals, but this is not my job. I didn't come here to do this. And so I wasn't happy at all, but I had no idea what to do. And then I decided to quit. That was right after I went to Paris with my boyfriend, who I was living with at the time, on my 30th birthday, and he dumped me in Paris. And so it kind of set me off on this journey of discovery, and because we were living together, so I had to move out. So I moved out, and I decided, I got a download from Spirit, but I didn't know at the time it was a download from Spirit of like, you need to move back to California, where I'm from. And I went back there, and that's when the economy tanked. So there were no design jobs. This was 12 years ago. Yep. And basically I was hitting rock bottom. I was crying over my breakup, couldn't find a job after 4.5 years of grad school, not undergrad, grad school. Right. And so I started having a spiritual awakening that just started happening with dreams. And then I started seeing spirits, and then I started getting guided to meditate, and I started seeing that there's more to this physical realm than we think. And that was my first indication of there's something going on here that I felt my whole life, but could never place or put words to, because I didn't have the consciousness or vocabulary at all. And so I started following and listening to my guidance, and then it sent me on this beautiful path that was beautiful and intense at the same time, of many years of clearing out personas, shifting my consciousness, moving out of the old Danielle, moving into the higher consciousness, moving into understanding what astrology was. I met someone, he introduced me to astrology. I went home that night, couldn't stop studying it. I taught myself astrology because my soul has done this many lifetimes before. And I just didn't stop. And here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. After all these years of kind of learning, studying, working with people. And Danielle and I were talking before we started about, working with people in general. And I've been doing it for 19 years, and we certainly learn on the job, don't we?
Yes, 100%. We learn from Spirit, and we learn on the job, I think. Yeah,
exactly. We learn from Spirit while on the job, for that matter.
Totally. Absolutely.
I mean, I still do, almost 20 years later. I think it'll always be that way for any.
I'm absolutely still learning every day. I'm learning how to hone my gifts, because I'm aware of my gifts, but I'm really learning how to use them and hone them, because they get overwhelming sometimes, and I get so much information that I get exhausted, or I get wiped out. So I'm learning how to use that and how to kind of channel it correctly, and like use my mediumship and do it on demand, because right now it's just like sort of like comes and goes. But okay, if I have someone in front of me, like, let's do this, so I'm still learning too. And that's what's really important, is that we're always learning.
Yeah. We are always learning, and I think that's if we stop, then we stagnate and
Yes.
oftentimes disincarnate or start the path of disincarnating, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because it does happen eventually, but uh, but
Yeah.
good to keep learning and keep
Yeah.
keep growing and expanding our awareness for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you like to talk to us about 2020, how it's been? We could say it's been interesting, it's been challenging, we could say it's been a little bit of a shit show.
Oh, good. I can say that word because that's my famous line. It's a shit show.
It kind of has been. I just said that to a client earlier today.
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
Tell us about it.
It has. So I'll kind of try to summarize as best I can. Let's just say that to astrologers, and maybe psychics too, it's not really that much of a shock. In some ways it is, because it's just, you almost like expect anything in 2020, right? But on the same respect, I can only speak for astrologers. We definitely knew, and I'm talking about professional astrologers, not people like saying they're astrologers, like, people doing this for a living.
Yeah.
We all knew that 2020 was going to be huge. And the reason is once you follow the cycles and you see the planets and you understand what they're doing, it's like, oh, it's a tip off of saying, hey, okay, last time that was together, this happened. Last time that was together, this happened. And so you start putting it together. It doesn't mean that exact same thing is going to happen, but there are archetypes, like there are tendencies, there are vibrations, there are frequencies that are similar,
Yeah.
So you can start to put this together. So it was around in the fall of 2019, I started looking at the energy for 2020. And now and I do this more now because of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I start looking at the transits. But before this, I really focused on people's birth chart. Like that was my main thing. So I wasn't always looking at the collective transits for the world. Okay.
Right.
But I was like, okay, I got a tip off of like, let's look what's going on. So as soon as I looked and I saw two planets, Saturn and Pluto, they were coming together in conjunction, which it's every like 30-ish years. Last time they were in opposition was during 9/11. So I was like, okay, that was a big indicator to me that something is big is going to happen. Like our energy is changing. So I remember going on Instagram, and I didn't want to tell people about 9/11 because I didn't want to scare them. Yeah. And I wanted to gather more information. But in November of 2019, I went on Instagram and I saved it. I even replayed it soon. And I basically told people that 2020, we're in for a total transformation, total deconstruction of our old patriarchy, of the old structures, of the old systems. And I was like, whatever is going to be, because everything is going to get, broken down. So I shared that. And I remember a lot of my friends in 2019 were super excited about 2020. And I'd always be like, you guys have no idea. And they're like, don't be negative. And I'm like, I'm not being negative. I'm being realistic. Like, you guys, you think it's going to be great. And I'm trying to tell you that it's not. So I don't know how else to tell you. And now they always say, you told us. And I'm like, yeah, I told you. So
we could never have guessed what it would be.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
exactly. I did hear there were a couple of astrologers who their main focus is doing this, and they did predict like pandemic, and that's amazing. But again, this wasn't my main focus, because for me, like, you have to really study this for years and years, and there's so many different parts of astrology. But now it's all coming together. You can see it's very clear what's happening. So on January 12th of 2020. Saturn and Pluto came together for the first time in about 30-ish years, conjunction, okay? And so that was a big tip off of like, okay, something is going to happen. So it doesn't mean that something always happens on that day, but building up to that energy was huge, right? And then after that, because the energy is so big, it's like a tuning fork. So when you hit a tuning fork, it doesn't just stop. The vibration echoes out. And so we're still under the vibration of that. We'll be under that the whole year pretty much.
Yeah. Hi, it's Lee Mccree. I'm so grateful to be a part of my medical intuitive clients' journeys of healing and evolution. We're all on our own paths to greater health and self-actualization. In a medical intuitive session with me, We connect deeply with your spirit guides and ancestors and dig into the root causes of what's going on in your physical body, emotions, mind, energetic body, and spirit. To learn more about my medical intuitive work, check out the Work With Me page on amyleemccree.com.
So what Saturn is about the structures, and Saturn was in Capricorn, and so it's all about the government structures and the patriarchy and the old systems and the old tradition and the same way we've been doing stuff. It's like top down from the government.
Yeah.
Pluto comes in, and Pluto is strong energy, and Pluto is all about destruction from the inside out. It's like metamorphosis. Like it really is like the caterpillar going into the butterfly and coming out, right? Different end. So it's that complete transformation. And Pluto is not just a one-time thing. It's a long process, okay? So we are, a side note, we're under a lot of Pluto transits right now, okay?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of this deconstruction going on. That's why it feels really bad right now.
Yeah.
So
and this is July. We'll tell the listeners because we're recording this in July. You guys probably aren't hearing it till the fall, but so we're hearing this in July. So keep going.
Yeah. So we're under this complete of, and we're seeing it with Black Lives Matter, the old systems, the old, systemic racism, like all the old structures that are not working and not serving where we're going need to get taken down. So we're seeing that in the government, there's stuff coming out, and you know what? Pluto rules. It's like sex, but it's like stuff that we've shoved under the rug, and like all the sex trafficking stuff that's coming up. That's very Pluto territory. That's showing us what's going on, and there's going to be a lot more that's revealed. Like it's so much deeper than people think. And one big thing is why I know it's deeper than people think, and I have chills as I'm saying this right now, is because I'm trying to say the best way I can say this. Oh, there's skywriting up there.
Wow.
And someone wrote, so I just look up and there's
skywriting. What's it say? Can you read it?
It's upside down. No, it's upside down, but that's really random. That's something.
So I'm writing in the sky, but it's upside down.
Yeah.
That seems symbolic.
Wow, that's very symbolic for this.
Yeah.
I can't. Something.com. We got that part. Anyways, that's so random to see something.
Yeah.
It's like looking up and seeing an alien right now. So
yeah. Okay, keep going. Interesting.
Yeah, sorry about that. Side note.
No.
Is that the United States has a birth chart for when it was formed. And what's really interesting is Pluto in the transiting Pluto is opposing Mercury in the United States birth chart. That to me is very important because Mercury rules our speech and our communication and our thinking. On top of that, in the United States chart, there's an MC, and the MC is basically the career angle and kind of what you present to the outside world. So it's one of the strongest angles in the chart. Yeah. It rules the MC. So that means it's like a double whammy of importance. So Pluto opposing that Mercury right now is breaking down all contracts, all structures. Like we're going to be getting rid of the way we vote for president, the way we, the Declaration of Independence, like all this stuff is so old and it's not even aligned with our values anymore. And first of all, like our system was founded on, like we stole land, so it's like it needs to be completely transformed. And so we're in the process of that because we need to make things right because it's not.
Yes.
So that's a little heads up of what started stuff. Now, because we're in July, we just got done with 3 eclipses in a row. And eclipses happen about every 6 months, and they're game changers for your soul and the collective. Okay, they basically push us on our journey. And we usually have 2 in a row. We had 3 in a row. So I remember I kept saying, you guys, summer's going to be wild. Summer's going to be wild. And what happened a couple days before the first eclipse? The riots broke out with the Black Lives Matter, right? Yeah. And then everything kind of hit the fan. Yeah. It's very important and symbolic because eclipses bring in huge events like this, where everything is just up in arms, right? Yeah. So major, and I mean, that's a huge pivot point for our consciousness.
It is. Yep. It is huge.
Now we're kind of in this lull. Yes. But that's not going to be long because we're going up. There's a lot of talk about, and we're in mid-July right now, there's a lot of talk about July. There was a lot of things happening. So let's see. I think that can come. I think there's a lot of volatile energy still in the air. So I'm actually curious to see how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone's safe. And then this fall.
Everyone's getting this
Where do I
fall.
start
I've been
this
feeling
fall?
it too. Like
Yeah, we talked about this. We picked up on that too.
We were saying, and I'm not an astrologer. I'm just a medical intuitive.
It's the same thing. They're just different tools. You know?
September feels like things are gonna start heating up again. Yeah.
I will say this, if I'm allowed to just be candid here.
Be candid. We love
September
candid.
9th, Hillary goes back to court to testify. So look for when something's going to happen around that, because now we know their playbook.
That's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't actually usually say that, but people who hear this are going to know.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Interesting.
So that's interesting with that. But in December, we have a huge conjunction to Saturn and Jupiter are conjunct. That is going to play out months before. We also have Mars going retrograde in September. And that to me is a big, I'm curious if things are going to start happening with military around that time, because so that's like something that's popping up for me. I'd like to see how that plays out. But Mars is our will and our drive and how we fight. The fact that it's going retrograde in its home sign of Aries, and it's, Mars is in Aries right now, and it's there for 6 months because of this retrograde versus 6 weeks. So that's a major difference and a major activation point of having Mars in Aries, because Mars in Aries wants to get stuff done. It's fiery, right? It's like, you know, jumps and then ask questions later. It's kind of does things too quickly. But let's see what happens in September when it goes retrograde, because the energy gets kind of skewed. So I think there's going to be a lot of karmic redos in September. And I think a lot of things are going to be coming out about you know, I'm just going to say it about men, and it could also be related to a lot of this sex like, you know, sex trafficking, sexual stuff. So that's just what's coming through right now.
More of that coming up, which let's shine the light on it and get it out.
Yep. And that's what has to happen. Exactly what you said is we are in, I was saying we're in a dark night of the soul for the collective.
I think we
are
too.
in it.
We're in
and
it.
You know what, if I've been through so many dark night of the soul, especially my huge one at 30. And I mean, it's not pretty. You have permission to go on the ground and cry. You have permission to want to like scream, you know? So, but we have to be in this to get to the change, you know? At the same time, I will say, I don't believe that we just go through and everything is just peaches and rainbows and unicorns, because we have free will of what we're going to do with the energy. So it's a matter of us waking up. That's why I'm really, you know, I won't get too much into it here out of respect for your podcast, but I direct people to say, you know, look at what's in the media, not believe what's in the media. Look at how they're saying it. Look how they're trying to direct the narrative. Look beyond this stuff, right? And let's start thinking for ourselves, because it's really, really important.
I do agree with that. It's very important. We have the critical thinking skills that have not really been in the forefront, you know, the last 10 years or so. It hasn't been about that. And we need to be, you know, continuing to develop that and teaching that as well, so we can keep questioning, you know, what's out in the mass consciousness and look for what's the truth for ourselves. I absolutely agree with that.
Yep. And we have to also, we've denied our intuition because we are, I could say, invaded. That's a good word, because we are with stimulus from everywhere, that we are shut down ourselves because it's distraction everywhere. And that's really what the elite higher ups, we'll just call them, they want us to be dumbed down, so we are not thinking. I mean, what's a government is control masses.
Well, and it's consumerism. You know, that's the heart of it, is a corporatocracy that would like us to be consumers who aren't really thinking for ourselves. And we're just, you know, there's not really a lot of regard for health and wellness, because it's a consumer driven society, which takes us around to the idea of empathy, and how we have, you know, a decline in empathy in a lot of cases right now in society. So we have to push back in the other direction with more empathy and more of that. That's my take on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, when we go into our intuition, we go into our heart. We are disconnected from our hearts completely because we are distracted and numbed down.
Yeah. I agree with that. So
this is
hopefully,
our wake-up call.
yeah,
Good
so
morning.
hopefully we can shift that, and, by talking about that and inviting our listeners, we're not live today, but inviting our listeners to comment and talk to us about their experiences with that. And I'm sure on social we'll both be answering comments when we air this, to keep getting that conversation even started. I mean, I think that alone is powerful. And all the ways we can get into our heart and our intuition. Absolutely. Danielle teaches amazing stuff. I teach Meet Your Guides class, and a whole host of many, many, many live shamanism classes, live shamanism teleclasses. You have your, tell us, we have to wrap up pretty quick, but tell us about your School for Your Soul Astrology Mystery School. Tell us about
that is actually turning into, the School for Your Soul is something else, and it's actually turning into my new membership.
Oh, tell us.
I'll be launching in the fall. Yeah, so I'm launching a new membership in the fall.
Okay.
And it's going to be about really help people with daily life, so we can make this a part of our life, and like a shift in paradigm. So I'm going to be talking about the month overview of astrology. We're going to do monthly master classes, and also the moon circle. I do monthly moon circles right now, and they're really powerful. So we do a lot of healing in them.
Good. Yeah. Good. So you're offering us lots of transformational tools. To take it. That's
literally why I'm on Earth. I mean, to evolve my soul as well, but to help and do this. There's no other reason.
Yay. So I'm going to ask you our little wrap-up question. If you could give a message from the future to your 18-year-old self, one thing, what would it be?
I would tell my younger self, really it all comes down to self-love, and to fully love and accept herself, because she is perfect, and she chose this vessel, she chose her personality, she chose everything to help her fulfill her journey. So trust and love herself, because that's the most important thing that matters. We come into this world alone, and we leave this world alone. And the beautiful relationships we have are amazing, but it all comes down to fully loving yourself. Because if you love yourself, things are going to brush off you, and you're going to be able to get through life easier. So that's the most important thing.
And if you love yourself, you don't feel alone.
Absolutely.
I think that's important to think about. And I love how you pointed that out, that we come in alone and we exit alone. And if you love yourself, you're not alone. Yeah. Yay. Thank you. I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Danielle. It went really fast.
Yeah, it did. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to talk with you, and we'll have Danielle back on the program again to talk. Maybe if we can talk about 2021 too.
For sure.
Coming along. Yeah.
For sure.
Yay. And thank you all so much for listening to Happily Holistic. And go find Danielle at I am Danielle Paige on Instagram and at daniellepage.com, and have a beautiful day. Thanks for listening to Happily Holistic with me, Amy Lee Mccree. You can find out more about the show on amyleemccree.com on the podcast page. Please stop by your favorite social platform and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear how you liked today's show and what topics you'd like me to cover in the future. Come find me on Instagram and Facebook at amyleemccree.com. If you would like to see what a medical intuitive session with me is all about, hop on over to the Work With Me page on amyleemccree.com. Until next time, stay happily holistic.